Hey, it's Casino Mike. Have you ever been involved in a technological innovation? Something that happened that moved time forward, kind of. That new technology. When I was young, a young man, I was a part of that. You look at the Navy. I was in the United States Navy. When the Navy first did communications, they went by signals. Now, those signals could be light signals. They could be, especially out in the dark. They could be signals done with flags. That's what they used to do. And then later on, you had radio. So radio was able to be a communication device. I mean, a radio, being able to talk on the radio to somebody. But then they came up with, because they had to use code. There's Morse code, the tapping. Uh, what I was able to be in on the end of was teletypes. Now, when you had teletypes, you would be able to type out a tape and you would send that over an electronic reader, and that would send out a message. So it did back then. But I was at the end of that going into CPs, computer processors. And that's where it crossed over and things changed today, where you see how things are with personal computers. So what happened was all of that changed. And it started at that time, we're going from the teletypes over to computer processors. Now today, there's something else that's happening. It's been happening for a while. It used to be you would have to do all of your business in person. You would have to do all of your marketing on print. Then print got so expensive that you had to advance. And when it came to working in a building, all right, an office building, or even out working on construction or something, a whole different deal. But if you had to work in an office building, if you had to work in some kind of complex, right, all of that has changed because of the technology. You do not have to sit in traffic anymore to go someplace. Now, a lot of people convince you do. Some companies have got away from that, and some companies haven't because they want a little more control over their employees. And one thing they want to make difficult for you is if you're your own business and you're willing to work as a contractor and them having them as a client, which means that you can leave at any time. You're not tied to them. And you can do whatever you want on your free time. All right? Which, like in the military, you couldn't do that. You were trapped. Same thing in some corporations today. There's not a lot you can do. Yeah, I mean, you don't have much vacation. You have to be back, so you have to do overtime if you're short-handed. That's not something you have to do as somebody who works separately from the company, but works for the company. Now, what they have today, what we have today is computers. What we have today is Wi-Fi or internet connection. We have all of that at our disposal, and all we have to do is put out our services to someone, and in some cases get paid even better. It's a possibility. But what's most important is you have to have a computer, you have to have internet access, and you have to have tools that you can use that the company may not even, more than likely, is not going to have for you. You have to come up with that yourself as you are a business contractor, working freelance. A lot of people think, oh, well, I'm still an employee. No. If they want someone employed to work at home, they're usually at the office first, and then they have them go out and work from home, just like during the pandemic. No. What happens here is you have to have everything you need to be a business. A lot of people are afraid of that. Well, once they get used to it, once they get into that kind of form and they've got more than one client, especially, there's a good possibility that you can make a decent enough amount of money. You don't have to go back to the companies ever again, not in person. You can work independently. How do you do that, huh? What would you do that for? What would you do that with? There's goods and services, whether it's products or your skills being used in a certain way, where you're an expert at a certain software or an expert at a certain way of writing things. So it's all there. It's a matter of, what do you want to do? Is there something you can do? Check it out. Use the link below and see if there's something that you can do to start your journey as somebody who works remote or at home. And I mean remote by at home. Remote means you can work anywhere, not just home or just at home. All right. As far as remote goes, that means if you go on vacation or you go on location somewhere, you can work on your laptop while you're there in your business. So you could stay somewhere. You could live, if you don't own your own house, you could go from hotel or rental or timeshare or what have you and work there and then move somewhere else. Usually good to have a steady address, but you can arrange that with having a property at home that you'd call your home and then move around, be a globetrotter. That's a possibility. But the bottom line is, you don't have to be chained to a desk in a company's building. So think about that. Let's see what we can do. If you can do something like that, check out the link below. This is Casino Mike. Innovate.